lift here to reset my modem really quickly. And I'm glad that we're back. Apologize about that in advance. So I'm just going to go back to here. Here we go. So as I was saying, what's the change in your identity as a leader? Because as we talked about this in the green room, I'm working on a big project and I'm basically going to a multi-unit operator straight away from not even having a single unit operator operation. What's that change in identity when you move from a single unit operator to a multi-unit operator?
Yeah, it really comes down to the question a lot of operators ask themselves and struggle with which is what's my role now? You know what? I'm so used to working with my hands. I'm so used to being there in the trenches with the team. I love it. I get that rush. I know that, when they need help, I'm there immediately. And now there's more admin. There's more computer time, right? So it's a huge shift from being physically on the job to having to be the conductor behind the scenes, measuring success in a completely different way and not being able to be as much of a part of that energy that you get from the shift every single night. And that
where do you gain that dopamine hit?
100%. And so it's very lonely. And it can be really, really confusing again, which is why it's so important to really clearly define your role before you open number 2 and figure out your time, because you can't just completely remove yourself. Then you're like, what's my purpose? This isn't fun anymore. You can't just fully remove yourself from that, because it's at the heart and soul of what we do.
Well, yeah, because we're hospitality people, so we're passionate. We want to be there for people, whether it be our staff or our guests. And then all of a sudden you step away. And then as you get bigger, you start divvying up the admin stuff to a bookkeeper or someone who's doing your admin stuff. And all of a sudden you really look at yourself and go, what am I doing?
Well, there's also a lot of FOMO, right? Like, as a restaurant owner sitting there that's reading a guest review about how extraordinary the experience is, it's like, oh, I missed it. Right? You don't get that same, like I said, that same dopamine when it's behind the screen.
Yeah, I haven't bartended for about 4 years now, and people are like, "Oh, do you miss?" I'm like, "I don't miss bartending. I miss bartending. I miss that the 2 or 3 hours after everything's set up, before anything needs to be pulled down. That beautiful moment when I'm just making cocktails and touching tables, kissing babies.
Yeah.
I do not miss prep. I don't miss setup. I don't miss cleaning. I don't miss any of those things whatsoever. I miss those sweet 3 hours of just like when you're in the weeds and it's beautiful."
Yeah. 100%.
So when you start, like, as you said, you opened to 48 venues in 7 years or something, or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
When you really get into that sort of high level, you've gone from being a single unit operator to being a multi-unit CEO. How do you do that? And how do you sort of bridge that necessity of purpose for people as they grow, especially when they get that big? Because a lot of times, like you said, we want to be in the thick of things. We want to be in the mud with our staff, like pushing through the trenches. How do you get it when you get up to like C-suite level?
Yeah. So when you talk about purpose and expansion in business, you have to make sure that you are hiring people and building a team of people that have shared purpose. And you do that through identifying core values for your business. 3 to 5 is all you need. And then you make sure that you are using those core values in your hiring process, in your one-on-ones, in your performance reviews, so that they're always top of mind for the organization. But when you're interviewing people, you have something to measure that against. So you have the core values, but then you're also defining what the behaviors are behind those core values and how they show up. Because I was having a conversation with a client last week. They're getting ready to look for a new general manager. And I said, let's really be thoughtful about this. And let's look back at what's not been working with the former GMs. And let's talk about what we want moving forward here for the next 3 to 5 years. And I said, do you have core values? And she said, yes. But the owner and I, the 2 owners of the business, she said, but the owner and I look at the word integrity and it has 2 different meanings to us. So, and so I was like, okay, well, we got to get clear on that first before we can move forward, right? So you got to have alignment on what type of people are going to fit the type of company that you want to run, because restaurants every single one of them are so unique, which is it's so exciting and amazing, and part of the reason it's so hard, right? And And then once you identify what you're looking for, especially in multi-unit, there's a really important shift that happens when you go from 1 to 2 of understanding what leadership team the business actually needs and making sure that your financial model can support that, whether it's fractional coaching, fractional HR, fractional CFO, or that. So identifying that core leadership team versus what a lot of people do when they have one restaurant or they move into 2, which is just promoting based off loyalty.
I was watching a video where you were mentioning that, and it was eye-opening, because that's, I think, a bit of a con when it comes to our hospitality industry, because you've been here 2 years, the bar manager just left, you're the new bar manager. And we rarely go, hey, would you like to be the new bar manager?
Yeah.
It's usually just, oh no, the bar manager left, you're the new bar manager, you've been here 2 years, you can do it anyway.
Yeah.
And we sort of promote just because people have been hanging around.
100%.
Not necessarily they want to, or whether or not they have the skill base to do it.
100%. Well, and you mentioned this on one of your episodes I was listening to, the importance of job descriptions, right? So bar manager is a great example. Your bar manager leaves. Take a second with your team and go, wait a minute, do we have a job description for this? If we don't, let's create one with AI using our website and our core values. So easy. Yep. Let's review it together, because, AI, garbage in, garbage out. Let's review it together, make sure it fits our language and our organization, and then get yourself a plan together and go, okay, we have one candidate internally that might fit 60 or 70% of these qualifications. What do we need to get them there if they want it? And then do we have the infrastructure in place in order to do that? Or do we need to go look externally? I think that could be a 30-minute conversation that could really solve that turnover issue.
Yeah, and I think I've been talking a lot about this, about like, there's always training journeys from, like, if you're a hostess busser up to being like a bartender, server, that sort of thing, or in the kitchen. But once you get into management, there's very rarely learning journeys after you get into management. It's like, oh, you're a manager now, and your training and your nurturing sort of just stops. It just, just exist now. And then that progresses into ownership, where you just sort of exist.
100%. It's a lot of the reason why I burnt out in the industry. I had been very passionate about, like I talked about earlier, finding ways that I could learn and grow myself, whether it was the book Setting the Table, whether somebody said, hey, we're offering a sommelier certification. I was like, yeah, please sign me up for that. Delicious and exciting. And then, hey, there's a, master mixologist coming in. And by the way, there's this cool Bar Smarts program. I was like, of course I want to learn all of those things. Right. So, and you can compete and all of these fun things. So in my, mid 20s, it was all there. And then as I started to work for a larger organization, I made the mistake of stopping to look for those resources and putting that onus on them, that I thought, well, you guys know where we're going. You all have so much more experience in this area than I do. It's your job to develop me. And when I started doing that, I realized that the leader that I had directly above me wasn't necessarily interested in doing that. And that person was human. I put them on a pedestal. And then I set really high expectations for them, and I was very disappointed. So there's so many resources out there. I mean, your show is a great example of that. There's art, there's social media posts, there's newsletters, there's podcasts. I mean, you can get content in your ear and in front of your face whenever you want it now. And so I love where we're at. And it's no coincidence that all of these resources are available now, because the industry is screaming for it. But when I started my business, I said to myself, I don't want anybody else to burn out like I did. And I want to make sure that people understand where they can find these resources.
100%. For you on a personal level, and I suppose professional as well, where do you see modern hospitality leadership going in the next 5 years? What are the 3 things that you sort of see and go, okay, well, this is a non-negotiable going forward that every organization should be doing?
You were seeing a lot of people coming into the industry just based off of how they grew up, right? It's very tech forward. They're so much smarter than we were when we came into the business.
So much.
And they're a lot healthier than we were. We were a generation of drinkers, my friend, and party animals. So they're a lot healthier. So I think that what we are seeing is, again, people coming in with more boundaries, people coming in healthier, more clear-headed. They want to go into work and have intention and want to make an impact, and they care about mental health. And I think they're going to demand these things from employers, or they're going to start asking a lot of questions about where these resources are. And owners are going to have to start saying, okay, I should start looking at this. What resources are out there, or empowering them and saying, would you go do some research and let's bring this into the organization? Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot healthier than what we've seen in the past.
Which, again, I am jealous and envious of the fact that they have these beautiful boundaries and like know exactly what they want, because, again, we were a generation of partiers and something. But again, I think that's changed as well. Like, you go into your favorite bar post shift and you're like, had a really bad night. Here's a shot of Fernet, and you're just like, probably not what I need right now, but I'm going to take it because I don't want to be rude. But yeah, I think the changes and the shifts in the industry have been healthy, and I've been harping on it quite a lot. And I remember when I first started talking about my mental health, and I got messages from some of the people in my sort of age bracket, and they're like, you shouldn't be talking about this. You shouldn't be openly talking about this. And I'm like, I've lost friends now. And I'm sure if you're in the industry long enough, you've lost friends. And I'm like, I would prefer to have an awkward conversation at 2 a.m. than get a shitty phone call at 6 a.m. that you're gone. So I'm always up for the awkward conversations.
Yeah, I love it. Good for you. I love you leaning into that. It's amazing.
So with your books and everything like that, what's your plan for the rest of 2026? What are you sort of gearing up to sort of like implement?
Yeah. Well, I've had my former company for 3 years, and I realized I was the bottleneck. And I could not step away from my business. And so had that, beautiful, powerful moment of insight, and realized I needed help. I needed a partner that I've
Taking your own advice.
Taking my own advice. Yeah. Like, if we're going to ask clients to do this, we better be leading by example. Right. So, we formed Columbine Hospitality in January of this year, and brought on a tremendous partner that I have opened a ton of restaurants worked with over 10, for over 10 years. He takes everything I do and 10X is the quality of it, which is incredible, because I move a million miles an hour. I'm the hyper. He's very much the integrator. And so we are a killer team. And we are hiring a team of coaches to take the framework that exists in multi-unit mastery and roll it out to our clients internationally. So for us, we are scaling. We've hired our first client, or our first coach already, excuse me, and we will be looking to hire our second coach within the next month or two. So
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So for everybody who's listening, before we get into the deep podcast questions, which I do in every episode, Hospitality Leaders Roadmap and the Multi-Unit Mastery, I'm going to put those links in the bio when you listen to this, up in my link in bio, so you can go straight to Amazon and pick them up. I'm going to be downloading the audiobook for sure, because when I do things like listen to yourself and people like you and read more books, people go like, oh, don't you already know everything? I'm like, if I learn 2% more from something that I'm doing, that's 2% better than I was yesterday. Yeah, and for me, it's like, as I said, Shawn Fint is a very good friend of mine, went to Annapolis, did his course, his mastermind. And like, although it gave me a few new things, it more reassured me that I was on the right track and I was doing the right things.
Yeah.
It was more of a reassurance than like, oh, this is an eye-opening brand new thing. It was more of a reassurance that I'm not completely shit in the bed.
100%. I can listen to the same podcast episode 5 times and get a different moment of insight each time I listen to it, based on where I'm at and what space I'm creating. And I do want to mention too, I'll send you the link if we didn't talk about this yet, but anybody that's listening to this, we'll give them a free copy of Multi-Unit Mastery. So I'll send you the link for that.
Oh, awesome. That's fantastic, because I know a couple of people. I just had drinks with someone, a friend of mine, and he's looking at going multi-unit, like 10, 12 units over the next 2 years.
Awesome.
And I'm just like, okay, I'm with you on that one. So, but at the end of every episode, I always do 5 deep podcast questions for every guest. They're a lot of fun. Okay. They'll either catch you off guard or they'll make you really think. What is one lesson or experience that has shaped your perspective the most, and how do you carry that forward in your life? personal or professional?
The importance of having a morning routine and making sure that you are filling your cup up and taking care of yourself first and foremost, so that you can give the energy and the attention and the detail and the presence that you want to everybody else in your life.
If you could leave one lasting message or piece of wisdom for the world, what would it be and why?
Stop judging each other and just be open-minded to everyone's perspective. If we could all be better listeners, we think about where the world would be right now, it'd be pretty incredible.
Looking back on your journey, what is something you wish you had understood earlier in your life?
That leadership development is a 50-50 two-way street between me taking ownership and the company delivering those resources as well.
How do you define success, and has your definition of it changed over time?
Yeah. Yes, yeah. I redesigned my lifestyle before I started my business so that I, again, could have that North Star of checking myself when I got stressed or I was in the weeds. I could look at that piece of paper and go, am I moving in the right direction here, or did I just take a step back? That has been one of the most powerful lessons I've taught myself at 41 at the time. So could not recommend that enough.
What do you hope your legacy will be, and what steps are you taking to build it?
I hope that people at my grave will say, she was always positive. She always made time for us. And she cared so much about the industry and made a huge impact. And that my resources will live on, the books, the podcast, the content will live on beyond.
That's awesome. Well, as I said at the very start, like I've been getting used to having people who I've never met on the show, and it's still learning. But I've actually become really good friends with a lot of people that I never met before, and then start chatting. And today was no different. Like your insights, and I think it's sometimes tough because you obviously have your podcast and books and stuff. Sometimes you feel like everybody should know this already, and then you meet people and you don't know this. And you should know this. And maybe I need to lay this out a little bit better, because like there's times when I do my episodes and I'm like, does anyone really give a rat's ass? And then I have someone message me. I'm like, oh, wait a second. Yeah, there's people out there that are like still trying to figure out all this stuff themselves. And I think it is always one of the things, right? Especially right now, it's a little bit doom and gloom for the hospitality industry. So everybody's like, I'm just focusing on my single unit. And I'm like, but can you expand? Can you replicate? Can you do this again? Yeah. And so I really appreciate your insights today. It was a fantastic episode.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Great to meet you.
Great to meet you. Thank you so much. And I'll let you know when this episode comes out.
Sounds great.
Thanks, Christin. Bye.